When I told this story at a competition, I made a mistake. And the mistake was that I never mentioned that every word here was true. So now I'm correcting this, and when you listen, please keep in mind until the very end, nothing here is made up. Now imagine it's shortly after 1984, Moscow, the Soviet Union is about to fall apart, and the authorities started giving permits for little private ventures. Excitement in the air, perestroika, and my friend had an idea to privatize a restroom at the central train station. Why would anyone want to own that? The clerk asked. Because I own shit anyway, my friend said. Now, before we dive deeper into the toilet action, I have to make a disclaimer. I did look for a good synonym, but the best my dictionary could come up with was Latin-based feces, which might be more appropriate when we talk about our Congress or United Nations, but it's barely applicable for a train station latrine. After all, we're not talking about gluten-free, low-calorie stuff. It's the end-of-life fast food product. Number 1, number 2, number 3, combo on the menu. And so, after the quick facelift, after installing the new urinals and scraping ratings on the wall, the first private toilet lifted its cover seats to the public. That day, people bringing their inflated bladders from all over the country were appalled to learn that the most basic freedom in the country that did not feature too many was no longer free. A Russian would never pee for money, they declared. And you can't help but admire the holding spirit. And those who did fold under the inner pressure never stopped cursing in the course of the act that did not break their budget, but dented their faith in socialism. The popular saying goes that money doesn't smell, but that place of business certainly did. And whatever my friend tried, hiring full-time cleaning crew, bringing deodorants and disinfectants, was to no avail. The century-old reek proved to be as conservative as the Soviet government itself. And while he was fighting stench on one front and the pissed-off clientele on the other, the authorities didn't quite leave him alone either. Like a mob of Snow Whites, they awoke from their slumber and realized that they didn't have to give their signatures for free anymore. And so they started milking farmers' markets and dispiriting liquor stores. That business, however, was a tricky field to harvest. A shoemaker can give you a free pair of shoes. A butcher can cut you a free tenderloin. But what do you reap off of a potty field? After long hesitation, an inspector finally agreed to poop for free, stamped his sanitary approval, and left, relieved but dissatisfied. Those visits became so frequent that my friend allocated a special executive stall equipped with 2-ply sheets, glossy magazines, and warm seat that in the course of a few weeks familiarized itself with the backsides of the local lawmakers and law enforcers. And so the bowel movement of his motherland provided for my friend's livelihood. But the damned stench was driving him crazy. He had to do something, and one day he did. Although his triumph proved to be the beginning of his own demise. Although everything in due course, let not number 2 get ahead of number 1. Somewhere he found an industrial-size vaporizer, and at a nearby bakery he bought food essences, so that the next morning the visitors to the train station were greeted by a powerful whiff of freshly baked buns and freshly brewed coffee. Following this olfactory lure, in the direction of vanilla and Arabica, they found themselves at the gates of my friend's enterprise. "Is that the coffee shop?" they wondered. "No," he said, "it's the opposite." Their digestive tracts demanded retribution, which he was only too happy to provide for a very reasonable fee. The end of the story is less happy. One day, a group of hefty men brushed past the turnstiles and confronted the owner. As a token of their might, they flashed little red books with hammer and sickle etched in gold. KGB. They pried everywhere and interested themselves in everything, from nuclear charge to human discharge, from precision tools to commonplace stool. And now their noses landed in my friend's cup of tea. Accustomed to these visits, he offered them a cleansing experience of their lives. But the 007s refused to be tempted by the 00. "We're closing you down." "But I have permits, tax receipts, inspection papers." "What you have is 5 minutes to collect your feces." See, it's not working. "But why, my friend exclaimed. And at this moment, the senior of the group put his right foot forward and proclaimed with stately presence, "You are found guilty of spreading the inappropriate smells." So this is the end of the story. But if you worry about my friend, don't. If you can make it in a shithole, you can make it anywhere. That experience proved invaluable, and he made a smooth transition into selling Siberian oil.